The nonprofit MBA purpose is to provide new business insights and fresh creative ideas for executive directors and their teams that will help them improve their organization. Here is your host, Stephen Halasnik.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Halasnik, and I will be your host for today's Nonprofit MBA podcast, which I have been for the past 300 episodes. And for those of you who don't know me, I am co-founder of Financing Solutions. And for the last 14 years, Financing Solutions has been the largest provider of lines of credit to small nonprofits in the United States. It's a very, very popular product. If you think that you're unique and that your cash flow goes up and down and up and down, that's completely normal. And that's why sometimes people like to get a line of credit in place. So if you're interested in learning more, please visit our website at nonprofitmbapodcast.com. And today I'm very excited to be speaking with Jamie Truman from Truman Charities. Jamie, what I'd like you to do, if you can, is just give us a little bit more background on you and your organization.
Sure. So I'm the co-founder of Truman Charities. It's a 100% volunteer-based organization. We've been around for about 16 years now, and we've raised a little over $2 million for various different charities. We do that by hosting 3 different events per year. In each event, or each year, we choose different charities to participate with or to partner up with.
Yeah, so I took a look at your website before we actually got on air, and one thing I really liked about your website is it seemed like to me like it was really updated. Am I accurate in saying that?
Hence why we are very blessed that all of our board members, and we kind of strategically make sure that each of them have a different department when it comes to the organization. So Sassy Agency, Julie Schumacher, she's on our board and she owns Sassy Agency, which is a marketing company. So she is fantastic with keeping up with all of our website and all of our marketing materials. So she's fantastic.
Yeah, and what it appeared to me is the Truman Organization Charities is really grassroots in that you're kind of reaching out to friends and friends of friends and friends of friends of friends for some really good causes that you and your husband and others really care about. Is that accurate to say?
Yes. So, it started out, 16 years ago. My husband, so his grandfather passed away from LLS, and one of his friends was in remission. And so the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, LLS, was raising funds at the night walk. I'm right outside of DC in Bethesda, Maryland. And it was in Rockville, Maryland. She asked, hey, could you be a sponsor? He said, great. I just, but let me see if I could do a little bit more. And let me see if I could have, a party and see how much money that I could raise. And by doing that, he found out that a lot of people were like, you know what, I really want to give back, but I don't really know where to go. I don't know about the organizations around here. And I don't really know how to connect with one that, resonates with me, because everybody has a different type of organizations that's going to resonate, with them. And so it started with this small party where, we raised like $8,000. And now, our largest party we had last year, we raised $117,000, which is fantastic for, a volunteer-based organization. And what we do with one of the things we started to do a few years ago, which was really great with introducing new people to Truman Charities and to different nonprofits in the area, and it's great for small businesses too, is we started to have sponsorship levels where then they would get, say, 8 tickets or 10 tickets for people to come with them. So now, say you're a small business, say there's the local butcher shop, they had, a $2,500, sponsorship level, and they got, 10 tickets. And so that was a great way for you can either have clients of yours come and, see that and that's really great for you to showcase it. Like, I care about the community and I'm giving back to the community and I would love for you to join in the fun. Or, it's also could be a thank you for small businesses to give to their employees, but like, thank you so much. You've been such a great employee. Come out with us. We're doing great stuff for the community. I want you to take part in this, great event too.
Yeah, it's awesome. Grassroots. And over the 14 years, you said 14 years you're doing it
16 now.
16 years. You got to change your website. It says 14.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. Someone on a board screwed up, I guess.
Oh,
just put the put the date there. That way you don't have to keep updating it, honestly. But the it's changed a lot. The organization's got more sophisticated, hasn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah. So it first started out where we, as I said, like it was kind of like my husband just had some people over our house and kind of a bowl. And then we were having them at our house. And, I'm sure a lot of people that are listening and you have some of your fundraisers at one of your top donors' houses or your house or wherever it is, it's really wear and tear. So when you're having 150 people at your house, and at that point, my husband and I had started having children, we thought, you know what? No, this isn't this isn't working. So then we went back and forth about what we should do. Should we um, go around and have our host our parties at different venues, or would it make most sense to stick to one venue? And then we came to, we talked about it, and it came to that it definitely makes more sense to continue to have it at one place. And the reason why is because if you do, say you're saying, okay, well, we're on a budget and we want to have an annual event or maybe 2 events per year, going to one place and saying, hey, okay, if you will give us this space for a discounted cost or if they'll just have you have the space, that would be great. But we'll make you a sponsor as well. So you'll get social media, you'll get on a newsletter, you'll be on a board at our, on the sponsorship board at our event. And then also we're guaranteeing you, say 70 people or 50, 70, 100 people to come to your venue. So you're showcasing your, bar, restaurant, whatever that is. So we're helping promote your business. So it's kind of it's a great partnership. And that's what we ended up doing. So we have all of our events at Tommy Joe's, and it's been a really fantastic partnership with them because now it's kind of turnkey. They know exactly, what we need for 120, 150 person event, which is what we typically have. And it's been great because then they've been a sponsor. They've gotten a lot of marketing for their business from us. And then also we're bringing in a lot of new people for them as well. And then we're also getting a great deal on, the food in the venue as well.
Great. So today's podcast is really about how to have inexpensive fundraising events. I want you to think back about when you first started doing this, which you talked about. It was at your house. It was smaller. Then it kind of grew. Over that 16-year period of time, the first question I have before I get to that one, are the events that you have now, so you said there's 3 events a year, I think. Is that correct?
Correct.
And are those 3 events every year at the same place? Does it have the same format?
So yes. So basically we have an annual Halloween event, and then we have our annual derby party, and those both are at Tommy Joe's. And then we do have a family fun event, which is different, and that's a different format, and that's outside at a different venue.
So think back of when you first started this and then to where you are today. And what are some of the things that you learned through that process that you could share with other executive directors who are thinking about grassroots fundraising?
Mm-hmm. So, a lot of the things that we made, which I would, I want to make sure everybody doesn't make the same mistakes, right? So I talk about these a lot. And I actually have had several conversations over the past couple of weeks with people that have just started nonprofits that are started fundraising that had a lot of these questions about, how do we do this and how do we make it, cost effective for us? And honestly, keep it very simple. When you overthink things, you spend a lot, you waste a lot of time and you waste a lot of money. At first we were trying to really make it. So I'll give you an example. We did an event that was for Kind, which was for kids and new distributors. So they help children on the weekends and long breaks that are on the free and reduced lunch program. So we thought, oh, this would be really cute. So we're gonna have all of our food and everything kind of themed towards schools, and it was a really cute idea. The follow through, though, not so great. So we ended up we had 2 guys that were helping cook in our kitchen, and everything was like in the ovens, and it made our house like 20 degrees too hot. It was hard for anybody to pay attention. Everybody's sweating. It was just not a good idea. And it didn't help. And it didn't help us raise any more money. And then also another thing that we really learned that I really think I go to a lot of events per year. And this is something that we did in the beginning. And now we don't do this at all, which is too many auction items. So for instance, we just went to an event. It was, I don't know, 100 of these items. And I say quality over quantity. I understand that it might be wonderful that your sister-in-law may be able to donate, some jewelry from someplace. But if it's not good quality, I'd rather you quality over quantity, because at first what we did is we did like a lot of baskets and we had like a lot of options of items. But now what we do is we have a few good raffle items, like really good raffle items. And then we have a couple really good live auction items, and that's it. So, as wonderful as it is, and you could do this. So when people say that they have some items and that's not, something that we think would be great for our particular event. What we do say is that what could we bring that into, say, a package, like a sports package. So say you have some sort of, Commanders or in DC, signed, well, the jersey, okay, great, but what can we put with it? Can we put that jersey with some tickets? And then can we get them on the field? Can we go to a couple more people and try to get items from them to make it into one good item instead of having all of these little items, which doesn't really bring in a lot and it overwhelms people too.
How many people are on the board?
So right now we have me and my husband, Julie, 6.
6. Now, I've always known that when you have a big project, if you break it down to little parts, it gets done, right? Much better. So when you were talking about, these auction items, is there people on the board who are responsible for certain things that are, verticalized, so to speak, or does it all fall on you?
So that's a great question because we get that a lot.
They're all great questions.
Of course, they're your questions.
I know.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
And I talk about this a lot. And my husband actually came to me a few years ago and he said, this is too much on me. I don't think I could do this anymore. We're doing this volunteer. I have my own business too. And it's just becoming very taxing since now we have multiple children. And I said, okay, well, let's get some board members and let's strategically think about who we're bringing onto the board. Because the worst thing also that you can do, which I've seen too in different organizations, is too many cooks in the kitchen. So what you want to be able to have is people on the board that are completely okay with delegating certain tasks to certain people. For instance, my task in the organization is I do all of our social media, I do our newsletters, I do our podcast. So those are the things that I do. My husband is more of the extrovert, social butterfly, gets everybody together. He brings in 99% of all of our auction items. That's what he does. He's the relationship guy. As I mentioned, Julie, she has a marketing company. She does the website. She does all of our marketing materials. We have someone else on the board, the Rob, and then what he does is he does all of the anything that has to do with the venue, securing the venue, talking to the general manager, getting the food, getting all of that together. We have Cindy who does the of day, the admin stuff, speaks to has everything, all of the documents that need to, Google Docs with all the people that are sponsors and all of that great stuff. She does all of that. And then we have another guy, Russell, who then does all of our happy hours. We have happy hours that are not charitably inclined, but they're part of our sponsorship level, where it's just sort of like a fun networking event. And each of our sponsors, because we have a yearly sponsorship deal or option, that then they can bring guests to these happy hours throughout the year as well. So. And everybody kind of everybody knows what they're good at and they kind of stay within their lane and it makes it work so well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the first lesson you learned is don't overthink it, keep it simple. Mm-hmm. The second one was, and I'll extrapolate from what you said, and that is, have the same event every year and maybe just add on to it. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Yep.
So you can
And then the
have great
third,
partnerships with them with that
right.
one place.
And then you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And then the
Right.
third thing was uh, bring people on board who have a skill set and that they're willing to do it within their skill set as well. So that's the third lesson so far. What else have you learned over the 16 years that you've been doing this that you've said is, boy, this was a mistake in the beginning or in the middle, and now we kind of get a better handle on this?
Well, I've spoke to a lot of other different nonprofits and people that are holding fundraisers in general, and they go back and forth, which is interesting because we have a Halloween party and a Derby party, which are both quote unquote themed parties. And a lot of people, I think, when they first think of doing a fundraiser, they think that it has to be too. So we have ours at Tommy Joe's, which is a lovely bar. There's an outside space, inside space, but it's no way a black tie at all. So, you come, say maybe cocktail attire, business attire, or whatever you'd like. We do the themes, the Halloween and the Derby, but that is something so simple. You can go all in on our Halloween, or you could put on a jersey of your favorite team. You can do as much as little as you want. But I
What
think.
do you find people to do? How many people, what's the percentage of people that you think, what you could be, you don't have to be exact, but what percentage of the people do you think actually get dressed up for the Halloween party?
It's interesting because I used to never love dressing up for Halloween at all, and neither did my husband. But you know what? When you have some really good costume prices, then people get really excited. So
Oh,
we had, I would say, 90% or higher that really put a lot of thought into their
into it.
costumes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Uh-huh.
the two things that I've caught my attention, I forgot what the third event you had was Derby doesn't the that's a fun one because it's not any holiday that's kind of around that one where people are doing something else. And then as far as the Halloween goes, there's not a lot of adults that get invited to Halloween costume parties. So
True.
that's a good one, and what was the third one that you said?
So what we do is we have a family fun event, and that's
Okay.
where we have, a pizza truck, moon bounce. That's when you bring your whole family.
Yeah. And that's July, or assuming, or what is it at?
It's in the very beginning of September. And
September. Okay.
so every year that is for an organization that raises money for families that have a child in treatment for pediatric cancer. And so
Mhm.
my son and his friends, it's a kids triathlon. And so that's how they raise money, that organization. So we raise money for his team.
Unusual question, but you're going to understand why I ask it. How old are your kids?
So I have a stepson that's 21, and then I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Because the reason why I asked that question was with pediatric care, and it's geared, that's of course kids. It would be interesting to see how you can get all the kids involved in raising money, because it would teach them about giving back at such a young age. It's just like I'm a college football fan, and it's at University of Iowa, the football games, the pediatric care unit looks down on the field. And for those of you who don't know this, before the game starts, everybody waves to the kids up in the pediatric care center. It's a big deal. And, it teaches everybody to, that there's people who need help. Right.
Mhm.
So, but which event out of those three is the newer one?
The
Like,
family fun.
so, and how long have you been doing that one?
So that one we've been doing, probably my son has been participating in it for 3 years now.
3 years.
So yeah, 3 years.
Now, what are you thinking of adding a fourth, or are you kind of tapped out?
We are tapped out at 3. We have found
Okay.
out that is kind of the magic number for us. We've done
Yeah.
4. So last year, I had written a book, which was all the proceeds were going to charity. So we did one event for that. And, I just think that because it's a volunteer-based organization, I think that 3 is good for us. 4 was a little much.
Yeah. What was the book you wrote?
So I wrote Vanishing Fathers: The Ripple Effect on Tomorrow's Generation. And I got the kind of inspiration for doing that based on speaking to different nonprofits for the past 16 years. As I said, we choose different nonprofits every year to host an event for. And then I had started my podcast, Truman Charities podcast, in 2021. And so I've spoke to, over like 130, 140 different, thought leaders and nonprofit founders, and saw this kind of underlying theme when it came to a lot of the societal issues. And a lot of it stemmed back to not having a father as a child. And so I wanted to highlight that. And so I spoke to different people from all different types of backgrounds. And then thankfully, since I debuted it in March, we've raised a little over $80,000 for at-risk youth charities.
Mm-hmm. Now, have you been able to incorporate that book into some of the charities you've been involved with? You kind of said you did, and that book's relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
So can you foresee that cause, which sounds like it's really near and dear to your heart even more, could you see that growing more and more and more? Where do you see that going?
So we chose a charity that we had done a lot of work with. It was called So What Else, and that's where we had our event for, and then all of the proceeds from the book sales, and that's continuously went to So What Else because they provide after-school programs for at-risk youths in Baltimore and DC. And my husband and I were thinking that we would do some sort of, not a large event, but maybe through one of our happy hours around Father's Day, where we're going to highlight that again. Of course, all the sales throughout the year, we continuously are donating that to, but then also having kind of something smaller around Father's Day. And we're not sure what charity that'll be this year, though.
Now, was that the first book you wrote?
Yes.
Yeah. So for those who are listeners, this isn't new, but over the last 10 years, I wrote a chapter in a best-selling book. And,
Congratulations.
Well, thanks. But the point being is that what a book is nowadays is what a business card was 10 years ago.
You're
Yeah.
so true.
So it's an entry. And I tell you, I loved it when I wrote the chapter. It was a 26-page chapter. And I loved the process of writing, which took me 3 months. And every Friday I would do it for an hour and a half. So I really enjoyed it. But I did it because I thought, well, one of these days I think I'll write a book, and this will give me a nice intro way into doing it. What I'm saying, though, is much of what Jamie did. If you are also thinking of becoming a thought leader or having a book that gives you credibility, think about writing a book, because it's so inexpensive nowadays to actually do it. You can even just not publish it and keeping it in a PDF. There's many ways of doing it now. Did you actually come out with a hard copy book of it as well?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Thank
what
goodness
has?
for my editor.
Yeah. Well, you still need it edited and everything like that.
That's for sure.
Yeah. Regardless. I mean, so what have you found that book has done for you, if anything, in regards to helping Truman Charities?
Well, I think it's helped us in a lot of ways, which I didn't see coming. I just thought that this was something that people needed to learn more about. I don't think the importance of a male role model is talked about enough. And I didn't even realize how much people needed to hear it. I was surprised at how many men came up to me and said, thank you so much. Like, we never hear about like how important we are within the family unit. And I really enjoyed what you wrote. And I also was surprised at how many offers I had to go speak at different events, which was great because it's all intertwined. Like this book is intertwined with our organization. That can't not be. That's the reason why I decided to do it. And that's also, it's part of our charitable giving. So it's been really great. And people have gotten to know me a little bit more on a personal level, which is also good too, because, that kind of builds you stronger relationships with people.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if people are really intimidated with the idea that they're going to write a whole book, you're like, most executive directors are running around with their head cut off because they're so busy doing so much of their organizations and in their personal lives and everything that, think about this too. You can write articles.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You can write articles, and even if it just goes up on your website, or, maybe you could find someone who is in PR, and you can ask them to come on the board and promote a little bit more about the writings that you're doing. And typically you might be doing writings that are directly related to the cause that you're trying to help. So it goes hand in hand, and it helps you be a good thought leader. And I found it to be cathartic. So, I don't know, did you find the same thing?
I did. I really enjoyed it. So it was a lot of hard work, as you know, but it was worth it. It was worth
Good.
it. Something I'm
Good.
proud of.
So where are you headed? Where is Truman Charities headed? Status quo, just keep the 3 events, keep it fun,
Yeah.
keep networking and getting it bigger. That fair to say?
Yes. So, I mean, that's the plan is we want to continuous, like I said, we had started on, not only 8,000 is something at our first event to, our largest was 117, and we're averaging, 60 to 70. And I want to just see that number grow, and I want to see new faces. And the more that each year we streamline it a little bit more, each year we find out, make a couple tweaks here and there. That's really helping us. And one of the biggest things that we did that was really great, and that I tell now a lot of different people that are starting organizations, the yearly sponsorship option is fantastic. And being able, like I had mentioned earlier, for someone that has a small business to know that there's maybe say you have 2 events per year that they can bring their clients to, or they can bring their employees to, and it's going to be fun, exciting, and they're going to have a great time, is a really great option. And then if you have that, then in the beginning of the year that say, okay, well, I already have $40,000 or $50,000 secured already before we even started thinking about the event that's coming up in March.
Yeah. Have you thought of putting together? I don't know if it really helps your organizations, but putting together a framework that's in writing for people who want to have their own events, and it's so much like a list of bullet points from your experience. Like what made me think of it was, get a sponsor. Right? Get someone who's a sponsor. That's a pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought of doing something like that other charities, other nonprofits could use as a framework? And I'm sure it's out there already, but what do you think?
I'm sure that there is some sort of framework out there. So what I started to do, because I was getting a lot of emails and a lot of DMs, and there's only so much time that I have to be able to respond to them, is that on my podcast, the Truman Charities podcast, I do my own solo episodes where I address these questions that are coming in.
Gotcha.
So I've addressed a lot. It's a few of them that are pretty big about the sponsorships and how important they are, the different types of parties, and making sure that you're getting that good relationship with those venues, and why that is so imperative to your success, and a few other subjects.
Yeah, so quite a number of, I would say over 50% of not maybe whatever it is, the percentage, but a large amount of my speakers are consultants that work in the nonprofit sector, and they all have different skill sets. But for our listeners, if you don't know, and I'm sure you do, you can hire somebody to help you put together the events or coach you as far as what to do, and how to do it. Have you? Did you ever think about going that route? Did you, at the time, which was 16 years ago? I don't know how popular it was. Did you even know about it at the time?
I do know of those type of businesses that will help nonprofits in that type of way. However, I think because of our situation where we're volunteer based and this isn't our job, so that wasn't something that we were interested in doing. We just, we thought that we would just put in place people that we weren't good, like whatever we weren't good at, we were just going to bring them into our our small group of our organization and say, okay, well then you tell me what to do because you're an expert on this, you're an expert on this. So I would suggest if you don't want to spend the money on that, or you don't have the money to spend on someone that's an expert in putting together, an event or whatever type of fundraising you're trying to do, then find someone that is really good at what you're not good at and see if they will come in and help you.
Yeah.
And then maybe if that's something they don't personally want to be on the board, but hey, offer them a sponsorship. And like, if you really help me with this, and I would love for you to come to my event and bring 5 of your guests, that would be fabulous. And then we'll put, whatever your business is on the board. Like try to find there's always creative ways where you are able to help your organization at a lower cost.
Last question. How has this whole experience at Truman Charities changed you?
Oh, wow. I think it's made me a lot softer in a way. And I mean, I think motherhood obviously did that to me too. So when I had met my husband, I had been helping people raise money for different organizations through marathons. And or different organizations that resonated with them. And that started for me when my dad passed away when I was 21, and I decided to run a marathon and raise money in his honor. And after that, I was doing that. And so I started to dip my toe a little bit into fundraising in the nonprofit world. And it wasn't until I met my husband and I really got introduced to so many people in the community doing so many different things. And to be honest, I didn't even realize what kind of need was just in my county. I mean, none unless you say the state, even your county, if you look around, there's a lot of need and a lot of people. And then obviously after I had kids, then you just get soft.
Yeah.
You just get softer.
Get it. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. It was a really good podcast.
Great. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank so very much Jamie Truman from Truman Charities for coming on today's podcast. And if you like today's podcast, please feel free to share it with a friend and also subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. And of course, if you like today's podcast or any of the other ones, please give us a 5-star review. The Nonprofit MBA podcast is in the top 1% of podcasts in the nonprofit space. And it's because of those reviews that really helps us. So, and of course, if you're looking for a line of credit for your nonprofit, please feel free to visit our website at nonprofitmbapodcast.com. Jamie, if people want to get in touch with you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, my email's easy, info@trumancharities.com, but you can also find all of our information on the Truman Charities website, and then our socials, Jamie_Truman Charities on Instagram and Facebook @Truman Charities.
And for everybody, the spelling for Truman is TRUMAN. So, Jamie, thanks for coming on today.
Thank you.
So I just want to remind everybody who's listening, I do this at every podcast because it's a good reminder that I want to thank you for trying to solve and help solve the world problems. But I want to also remind you that you're no good to your family, your friends, your employees, and even your cause if you don't take care of yourself first. because I know that many executive directors care so much about the causes that they're involved with that they're working constantly. And solving world problems is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So make sure you're doing the things that you need to do every day to help yourself. That could be meditating or praying or exercising or eating right or sleeping. Make sure you're prioritizing yourself, because that often gets left behind, and keep that in mind. Other than that, everybody have a fantastic day, and thank you for listening to the Nonprofit MBA podcast.